Hi everyone and welcome to today's card creation. I am playing with the new Creative Thinking release from Catherine Puller. The set I'm going to use today is the Butterfly in Blooms stamp set and coordinating dies. I'm also bringing a couple of an older one-liner sentiments and some heart dies that's already in the Catherine Puller collection. I've also used my favourite white cardstock. This is the premium cardstock. I'm mixing up some older and new inks, Suede shoes, Cove blue, Eucalyptus and Tranquil, a sea glass, and I've got some halo embossing glitter and some metallic gold rich. I'll be mixing it up. Now this A4 cardstock I'm going to cut in half. I've got a craft sheet here, and I'm going to be pressing my ink pads, my very juicy ink pads that's been just re-inked up, and press that on the craft mat. I'm going to create a mottled background that I'm going to heat emboss the butterfly over the top. So I'm going to show you my technique. Now you can do this a couple of ways. You can preheat emboss the butterfly, or you can heat emboss the butterfly after the fact. Now my biggest tip when playing with a normal cardstock and using a lot of ink is to make sure you dry properly and that you're not going to get a really kind of watercolor effect. You are going, where you press is where you're going to get the most saturation of the ink. So bear that in mind, that it reacts different to watercolor cardstock. So you can kind of see the crescent shape of the ink pad there. But it's actually not going to matter because I am going to heat emboss the image over the top. I am going to do 2 layers of this. I've got my Wow heat embossing tool here, and I place the setting on the first heat setting because it's a lower speed and a lower heat set. I just want to quickly dry in between the layers, but not dry too much. I wanted to create this kind of water effect, and you can see how that turned out. Now I know I stamped this straight away with heat embossing ink, but what you didn't see is I took the time of heat setting this cardstock. You don't want any moisture in your cardstock when you're going to be heat embossing over the top, because that's where the heat embossing pad will stay. So I heat set from the front and the back of the cardstock, and that's why you can see it looking a little bit warpy. But I'm not too fussed about that, because I am going to, once I've stamped this and heat set this image here, I'm going to run it through the big shot, which to cut it out, and it will flatten out the cardstock as well. So I've got a close-up here of the cardstock, and I'm going to use heat setting 2, because that is the heat setting to melt embossing powder. And I'm just going to hover over the heat tool over the image. And you can see how it changes from matte to a sheen, and that's when you know you've heat set that properly. If you can see some fine granules and it's still matte, you need to hover over back and make sure that's heat set properly. And you see here I haven't done it on part of it. No, I got all of it. I thought I didn't get that part on the bottom left, but I got it. Okay, so I will run that die through my big shot. I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to kind of curve this, and you can see how beautiful that is. Now I'm using the Fairground Trios and the Carnival embossing glitter. I've heat set, I've already pre-done these. It's my biggest tip when it comes to having background or your own color cardstock. I heat set a lot of panels ready to go, and so I've already got this panel. Now I've got the stitched heart dies here, and what I've done is when I first got my dies, they were all joined together, and I cut through several times with white cardstock and craft cardstock, so I kind of got this like outline of stitched hearts. and that was before I took the hearts apart. And you don't have to do that. You can actually place the heart dies and stack them and then cut them. But I like having panels ready, like my embossed glitter background. I like having die cut panels ready to go. It just makes for quick and easy card making, and sometimes you just need to throw a card quickly together. So I toyed with the idea of using white cardstock, and then I actually realized the craft cardstock complemented the gold better, I thought. I don't know what you think, let me know. But I ended up matting the embossing glitter cardstock on craft and then matting that on a top folding cardstock. So I thought that kind of complemented the gold. I don't know. Tell me what you think. Then I'm going to add and just pop this heart up just a little bit with some foam strips of adhesive here. And I'm going to place that in the center once I've made sure I've got all that around. So you can see that it really wasn't so important with the placement of the inks with the butterfly, purely because I was going to heat emboss that image over the top of that panel. So I liked that it created like almost like a watery kind of mottled background to that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the backing off this and then place that down. I've got one more little bit here in the center. I made sure I placed the foam right around, and then I'm actually pushing up my sleeves because I'm wearing winter gear. It's cold here in Australia. And I've chosen the sentiment from the one-liners. Now this is one of my go-to sentiments. I have a good handful of sentiments that I use and just really get a lot of usage out of, and this is one of them. This is a fantastic set. So I'm going to use Proud of You. I've got a couple of significant moments coming up with my family. I had my son get his license, and then I've got my daughter learning for her license. It's a bit stressful, but I've got this Proud of You sentiment that I'm using for a couple of things at the moment because I'm very proud of my family. Tell me what you're proud of at the moment. So I've stamped that with sea glass. That's one of the newer inks on a white strip of cardstock, and then foam mounting that in the middle, and that is my card. Let me know what you think and how it turned out. I love it. I love the dimension. So this is probably, a card that I am giving in person. I'm definitely not giving it in the mail. And that extra added dimension. Check out that sparkle up close with the embossing glitter, the carnival embossing glitter, and the metallic gold rich embossing powder. Thanks for watching, everyone. Leave me a comment or a thumbs up. I would love to hear from you. I really appreciate your support, and it is the highlight of my day when I get to read your comments. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a lovely day. See ya.